Yeah,
right?
I'm still struggling with this limited time of thinking and then answering.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what I've seen is, even for myself, when I'm reading through the questions, and I still take 15, 20 seconds to analyze the question, and then I only have like 5 or 10 seconds to think of information, and then I'm trying to answer it right away.
yeah,
So what I've suggested for students in practice is take a list of similar questions, and IELTS has different parts that are similar, like about personal opinion, or what do you think about this, or compare these two sources, etc. So um, and then in all of my uh, teaching, I always focus on the format of, like, a paragraph. Have your main idea, a couple of points with some specific examples, and then a concluding sentence. And so I think if you memorize the format and practice it ahead of time, meaning that's how you use to practice of, I'm going to always speak in this way, that eliminates some of the hesitation. Because often what I find, especially with topics that you're not familiar with, the student starts to answer, or even I start to answer, and if I don't have a format of how to put information in, I start to have more pauses, ums, ahs, I repeat myself, I, make I start saying the same vocabulary, or the same ideas.
mm,
And so what I would do first is take 5 or 7 different topics and don't answer them. Just look at them and write down some ideas. It's similar to what I teach in writing for brainstorming and outlining. So you have a topic, whether it's writing or speaking, think of a couple of ideas and then maybe a specific example or two. And those times, maybe it takes you 3 minutes or 5 minutes. That's okay. The focus is on thinking of ideas more quickly. And I'll give a specific example. This is for writing, but it applies. I taught a writing class a few weeks ago, and I gave homework of brainstorming, making an outline on 5 different topics. But I said, do the first 2 or 3 topics, send it to me, then do the next 2 topics, and then send, and all, we go back and forth.
yeah,
So I had one student who's, I'll say, is in probably the 30s or 40s. They're not familiar with that format. So instead of brainstorming and outlining, they just sent me a whole writing sample. And so I reviewed what I had asked for. I showed them examples of several other students of just a couple of main points and ideas. So then we went through the 4-hour class. There was 2 different times during those 2 weeks that I asked for brainstorming and outlining, and this student never sent me any of it. And then she sent me a message about a week ago, and she said, I'm still having trouble when I get a new topic, how to think of ideas. And I didn't say it directly, but I was like, but that's where in the class and now, like, that, you're avoiding, you just take a topic and write a whole essay and give it to me to mark, but you're avoiding that practice of topics, ideas only. And then you choose one of those 3 or 4 and then write or speak more on it. So I was a little bit frustrated, but she's not the first student I've seen like that. Um, but like I said, with many IELTS questions, they're going to be similar to, especially in part one and in part two. Like in CELPIP, they'll say talk about a personal experience, or like one question is tell me about about a child that you know well. Like, where do you know them? What do you like about them? What do they do? Those are similar formats to part two IELTS questions. Where, tell me about this picture. Where were you? Who's in it? Etc. Like, so those types of questions we can use in parallel to practice on.
yeah. So just a quick question regarding question 3 and question 8.
Yep.
So basically, they are providing you with an image that they need you to describe. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I realized that I'm trying to state every specific detail in
Yeah.
the image, and I don't have any time to
Yep.
fulfill this. You know?
Yeah, that's a good question and a good point. So with the, I'm just pulling up a sample exam just so that I have, oops, that's rating, because I want to have a specific picture that we can look at. and I'll share the screen here in a minute for this. So actually, what's funny is you still have the same, I would still take the same approach as in your writing or speaking for other topics. Have one or two sentences outlining what's the bigger picture, and then look at chunks of information. And they don't require that you talk about every single part, but they want to see that you have a logical process of going through and around that information.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when I see this, first of all, what's the context? What type of store is this?
I guess it's furniture and clothes.
Okay, yeah, so it's not a grocery store. It's more like a Hudson Bay or a Sears,
Yeah.
even like a Walmart where they have. So, um, so when I look at this, I could, well, actually in this picture, because it's not a Walmart store per se, but what I could say is in this picture, I see that there's a store with 4 or 5 different sections or departments. In the back right, yeah, sorry, back left-hand side, there's a furniture store, a furniture area, and then I would move through sections. So there's furniture, there's toys, there's shoes in the middle, there's the cashier, and then there's the change rooms and the stairs going up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter which way you go, but I think what some people might do is they would focus in and say, well, I see in the front of the picture there's two kids playing with toys. A girl in a red jacket, red sweater has a uh, rabbit, whereas a boy in the pink or the blue is playing with a truck. Well, that's good, but you've gone very specific very quickly. It's better to reverse that and say there's a toy section on the bottom or closest to us on the left-hand side, or in the bottom left-hand corner. There's two children that are playing with one with a yellow truck, one with a gray bunny. Then move to the shoes or to the furniture, etc.
Yeah. I think this one is a little bit hard than the regular pictures, as I
There's
used
more detail.
to describe the biggest items first, and here in this
Yep.
picture, they are all the same in size, I think. So
Yeah.
there is nothing specific in big size or smaller size.
Okay. So yeah. So I'll let like. Why don't you tell me a few sentences of what you would, excuse me, of what you would say. And while you're doing that, I am listening, but two people are trying to join, so
Yeah, sure.
uh, I'm just going to send them. So what would you say? What types of sentences would you say um, for here?
Oh yeah, so I guess I will start saying that well, this is a typical scene of a Canadian store. It compresses a lot of sections. We can start in the upper left hand side,
Yeah.
where we can find the furniture section. It's just beside the fitting rooms, and looking at the left bottom side we can find two kids who are playing with toys, a rabbit and the truck, and on the lower bottom side, uh, we can find the cashier, and there is a woman with a green blazer or a t-shirt, and she's paying for her stuff, and her girl is dressed in a pink dress, and she's talking to her mother, and in the top right hand side we can find a man who's going up on the electronic stairs.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah. Yeah. So in this picture, I, from my understanding from the teacher training, that's what they're looking for of systematically describing as much as you can. So like you did is you start in different parts and you give a little bit of description in each area. As you commented, that this picture is very busy. There's a lot going on. You can't talk about every single area, but
yeah
yeah, like we've talked of, you talk about it in sections and then give some description in those areas. Because the teacher will be looking at how you describe this information. And then in part 4, they're going to be identifying and seeing, okay, now you have this, what do you think will happen next? And that's where, for many students, I think they describe it okay, like, 7, 8, 9s. But then with what will happen next, they're confused or they don't do that part well, because they'll say very obvious things. The man will keep going up the stairs. The girl will leave the bunny on the floor. The man will put on some shoes. Well, those are like, we're doing logical guess, but those are extremely logical.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're okay that you put in some things that may happen but may be unexpected. So for example, the man on the stairs, I could say, well, there's a man going up the escalator, but he may turn around and remember he wanted to buy some shoes, and so he'll come back down. The lady with the daughter in the bottom right hand corner, she will start to buy the purple shirt, but because her daughter's pointing to the pants, she'll wait and go over and actually buy another pair of pants. So it's a little bit more detailed. It's still logical, but it's not, like, we know the guy will put on another pair of shoes, but what will happen next? Will they be too big, too small? Doesn't matter what you say, but you can uh, infer that there will be some changes that will be happening.
yeah.
Okay. Um, let's jump down to, like you said in part 8. Actually, well, this is from some mock exams, and they're actually a little bit, they're switched around. So I think part 8 is the unusual description. Part 7 is comparing and contrasting. Um, but either way, which part
Yeah.
here were you looking for a bit more help with? With describing something unusual or comparing and contrasting?
I guess the unusual situations.
Yeah, okay. And hi, Fatty, welcome to our class today.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you.
Fine.
Oh,
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry about I'm upset. Last 3 weeks, I was between two jobs.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Now I'm
problem.
stable, inshallah.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, that sounds good. Well, welcome to our,
Thank you.
our speaking time today. So we're looking at a specific part in an exam called CELPIP, and there's a section where they have something that's unusual and talking about what do we see or how do we describe it. So when we look at this cup, so the first 30 seconds I want to prepare, and that's when I read through the information, like what is it talking about. So we bought a cup, there's a problem that occurred, phone the store, provide a full and clear description, explain the problem. So here what I find is students do one of two things wrong. Either they spend most, like 40 or 50 seconds trying to describe the cup, or they spend most of the time about the problem and they just say it's a white cup with some snowmen on it. And this is where you need a bit of a balance. So what I would do is, that you're pretending you phone the store, then I would talk about the cup and say that in about 3, 4, maybe 5 sentences. And then I would explain what happened with the cup in a couple of sentences. And then I would ask for, um, some kind of solution or what to do next. Okay.
Yeah.
So Isa, why don't you go ahead? Just tell me some of the sentences that you would say about this cup.
Okay, so I can start. Hello, it's me, Isa, calling. I'm a customer and I have just bought a cup from your store last weekend. Um, I had a problem with it. The hand of the cup was broken at the first time if usage. When I was just pouring hot water, when I was just pouring hot water inside the cup, I suddenly heard a crack voice, and it was the handle of the cup. The cup is white and it has three snow men over it, and it has a little bit of drawing and fallen snows. If you please, I would like to um, return it back, and I need an appropriate resolution. Thanks.
Yep, good. So yeah, I didn't time how long that was, but in about a minute, then you were able to go through and describe the different pieces. Fadi, what would you say if you have this picture and you were asked to describe the cup and explain a problem or the problem with it?
Actually, I will buy a new one.
Yeah, yeah. So
I will call to the customer service
yep.
department. When they answer me, I will give him my name and the bill number, maybe.
Okay.
And I will tell them I bought this cup from 2 days, 3 days, and it's it's handle broken. It's weakness. This is a weakness point in this cup. Maybe they ask me if you take it like that, or they transfer to me or send it to me by, I don't know, maybe DHL or something like that. Maybe the problem in the boxing, the packaging, not from the shelf.
Right.
So I will describe that, and I will ask them about how can I replace this broken cup, or maybe return the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must the customer service guide me to solve this problem?
Yeah. Yeah. Within that. And so with these types of questions, that's where how we organize it, I think, makes it a little bit easier. But then as both of you discussed, here's the situation, here's what the cup looks like, and here's the problem and how you would like it to be solved. Fadi, the only comment I would make is you described what you would do, but for these tests, they want you to pretend you're actually doing it. So in this situation, you would say, hi, this is Trevor speaking. I'm calling about a cup I bought from your store 2 days ago. So you put yourself within that situation. And this test is used, and this is a side comment about writing and speaking. This test is used for immigration purposes, and it's an alternative to IELTS. So a lot of students have prepared and studied for IELTS General. And so when they do this practice in the exam, they're following the same strategies that they follow for IELTS, which is fine. A lot of strategies cross over, and I talk a bit about it in some of my different videos of different things. But the one biggest difference is, and I see it in the writing all the time and sometimes in the speaking, the writing and speaking in CELPIP, they want you to put yourself in that situation. With IELTS, it's more general of here's the problem and you know, here's what could be done, or here's what I debate about, or what I like or don't like within that for that. But yeah, both of you guys have the information of what you would say and then how you would go through and answer that. Isa, does that answer your questions then about just some practice with these two types?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions that you may have from the speaking? I'll just click on, where is it here? I'll just click on the actual exam parts so that we can see from that. But yeah, any other questions? Sorry, I'm just looking for the CELPIP speaking.
I think I can share with you a specific picture of task 8 if you want to help us in describing it. I found it a little bit hard to describe.
Sure. Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, and that's where I was saying earlier, I wasn't sure, but yeah, so task 7 is expressing your opinion. Task 6, different. Yeah, okay, that's where, yeah, so 5 is comparing, persuading, 6 is a difficult situation, 7 is the opinion, and then 8 is the unusual situation, which is what we were doing, but you saw in my practice exams, they were mixed up. That was listed as a 7. Okay, so let me stop sharing and make this, I'll make it so that you can share. And okay, so you should be able to share your screen now, and then we can both look at that. And I'm just going to grab a drink of water.
Okay, sure. Morning, Fadi. How are you?
How are you, Isa? I'm so sorry. You know, I missed your
I know.
appointment. Yeah, I'm
I
so
knew
sorry. I
you
was busy. I was
were a
very
bit
busy
busy. I
the
know.
last couple of weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
know.
just arrived from another town. I was in Abqaiq. It's far 300 kilometers. Just go same the day and back. I just
Yeah.
arrived, but I don't won't miss this lesson. So I'm so sorry. I will contact with you, inshallah, by messenger.
Inshallah, we'll come back.
Thank you,
So
my
Trevor,
friend.
I just sent it over the chatting box.
Okay,
You
good.
can just open it if you please.
Yeah, so let me, okay, let's save this in desktop, task 8. Okay, so I'll save it and then let's open the file. And you send it as a JPEG, right?
Yes.
That's weird. Okay, let's see if I can open up, because it's not allowing me to, oh yeah, there I did. Okay, never mind. Okay, so let's turn that off. Okay, so let me just go back and share the screen. Okay, so there's a couple of people that have joined us just in the last few minutes. And I just had a student send me a sample question for part 8. And so we're going to just talk about this, this unusual creature.
Yeah, I was just shocked with the first time I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually know, I've seen something similar to this. We do have them in Canada, so it looks a bit scary, but
Yeah.
okay. So the situation is, as they show there, it's a lost pet. Call the shelter, provide a clear and full description, ask if anyone is lost from it. So why don't you tell me first what you would say in this situation, Isa?
Okay, so first of all, I'll say hello. It's me, Isa calling. I'm at the park now, and I guess I found the lost pet. It's it has a rounded head with a yellow color and some black dots, and it has two black eyes and very narrow mouth and very small nose. Moreover, it has three horns on each side, so in total it has 6 horns, and it was crawling on 3 legs. I don't know if it's from the mammal species or not. It has a very tall tail. I guess it looks like the fish fins, and I don't know if I wonder if anyone lost it. So thank you.
Okay.
That's what I had in my mind.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, that makes sense because it's kind of hard with that. I was taking notes as you talked with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Is there anyone else that wants to practice and say how they would describe this picture?
Okay, I will call 911
Okay.
or a zoo. I don't know which.
The animal service, yeah.
Yeah, the animal service. I think. Yeah, when I call him, hello, my name is Fadi. I was in the park and I find aliens baby or animals. I don't know. It's unique animals with 4 legs, horns, and small black eyes, and it has a middle. Maybe if we read something in the middle, we know who's the owner. Yeah, please help me. Something like that.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Pavan or the one that's joining us with the iPhone, do either of you want to practice what you would say? Okay. So let me give some feedback and then some comments here. Um, yeah, so when you're describing and going through this, I think both of you gave some good description with it. It's kind of a very strange animal. There is something similar to this that is called a mud puppy or a newt, Newt. So I have seen something similar before, but this one is strange because it's so colorful. Those ones are usually brown or gray. Um, but why don't I go through and just give a sample of what I would say, and then we can see from there.
Yeah.
So, uh, somebody would say hello. So, oh, hello, my name is Trevor. I was at the Fort Lauderdale Park that's close to my house about 30 minutes ago. And as I was walking through the park, there's a little bit of a lake, and beside the lake was a very strange animal that has like a blue collar or blue line on it. Its head is circular, and there's these feather-like things coming from its head. There's three on each side, and those are pink and then red. It has a couple of legs, and then the body of it goes back like a leaf, and it's about 4 to 5 inches long, so about 10 centimeters long. I was wondering if anyone has phoned in and said that they've lost a pet, or if animal control can come down and to catch this, because I'm a little bit afraid of touching it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, I've done basically what you guys have done. I've given a description of it, but I've added a couple more details of which park I'm at. And then, like I said, can you guys come down? Or so I've made it more personal of how would I, like if I'm in that situation, how would I respond? And I would not want to touch this because I have no idea what it is from that, or you could say, I'll put it in a shoebox, or something like that that you would join or use. Okay. Um, okay. Any questions with that specific, uh, the specific one, or that specific situation? I'm just going to type in the chat. Um, so sometimes they're called a salamander or a newt, but this still looks a little bit different than those. And I don't know if I spelled salamander correct, but this still looks a little bit different than those with the sample and the task with that. But Isa, does that help you get a picture of how do you expand? Because when you spoke for about 45 seconds, which is good, but that's where we look at, well, how can we expand a little bit, either at the start or the end, just to fill out that 1 minute. And that's where I gave a little bit more details of where I was and what I wanted them to do in order to fill that 1 minute time.
Yeah, it really helped. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll just go back and give, because our time, we usually have the class for about 45 minutes, so we'll kind of wrap up here, but some of you joined us a few minutes late, which is fine. I'm glad you're able to join us. So we were talking about speaking today, and just there's a few areas that we have a little bit of difficulty with. And I think the biggest biggest piece of advice or best advice that I could give somebody, like if anyone of just came and said to me, what's one thing that you would suggest for me when I'm speaking? And I think what I would say is you always try to imagine you're in that situation or that position, whether it's the writing task or the speaking task. So for instance, I saw a question about there's 3 small bookstores, but the city wants to put a big bookstore into that neighborhood. Which do you prefer and why? And so this was more for writing, but the principle applies for speaking. So one person had said to me, well, I like the small bookstores because I know everyone and I go there and they're small, but they always are helpful and they help me get what I want. And that's fine. But as I said a bit earlier with general statements, that's still a bit too general. What I would say or add to that is, in order to get a 9 or higher is, you know, we have 3 bookstores. The closest one, New to You Books, is just half a block down. I know the owner, Tom, and he's always helpful. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was looking for a rare book about dolphins or about cats or whatever, and and he found it for me, and he even brought it to my house. When we have the big box stores or the big bookstore, we're not going to have that same type of friendliness and that same type of service. And then I would go on, if this is writing, then I would go on to a second paragraph. For the speaking part, I would look and to decide, do I spend a bit more time, or it, you know, depends on the bar, because at the top of your screen will be the little bar for recording going past. And that's where you identify, okay, am I going to spend more time on this? Do I have to add something? Or am I almost towards the end of my minute or 90 seconds? And do I need to just say a sentence to conclude? And I mentioned at the very start, before some of you joined, with writing and speaking, try to always have the format of your idea, main idea, couple of details or main points, and then very specific details. That will help you put any question that you're given into a format that prevents you, or I guess it helps you then so that you're not saying ahs and ums as much. Because when you have a question that's odd or unusual, if you don't have a format, you're going to struggle with what to say and as well as how to express it. But if we at least have the format, I know that, okay, well, I have to think of one idea and then a second idea. What can be specific? How do I put myself in this place? And you can mention Toronto or Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver. That shows, you know, because we're in a Canadian exam and you're being marked by Canadian teachers, it shows that you're putting it into a Canadian context.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So what we'll end off here. Immediately following this, I do have a IELTS question and answer time, and many of the, for speaking specifically, in this month, I've been spending time. So for August, September, October, every week we were looking at strategies and skills for different parts of the exam. And so I was giving strategies and ideas. All of those videos are in our Facebook group, so you can look at those. Now in November, every week we're just looking at a different theme and talking about what questions do you have about different parts of this. For this week was speaking. Last week was listening. The week before that was reading, etc. So all of these videos, once they're done, are uploaded in our Facebook group. And I do have a YouTube channel now. I just need to be activating it more. But if you're interested in joining us for the IELTS session, which will start right after that, it's a separate Zoom link. So I've just put it in the chat. But I have some people that only want CELPIP help, or some people that only want IELTS help. But as I said earlier, with speaking, there's some strategies that will work for both types. So feel free to join us for the IELTS speaking part. And then at 12:30, so in 45 minutes, my time, then we'll be talking about growing your business in Canada. So in November, I talked about starting a business and a business plan and the legal guidelines of what you need, etc. I've started several businesses in Canada. And so today we'll talk about growing your business. How do we use social media? How do we use your website, etc., to be expanding and getting new clients and customers? So that'll be in 45 minutes. So in the chat, I've added the link. And so we'll close off the CELPIP time. And then if you have questions for IELTS, or if you want to just join in and get more practice with speaking about IELTS topics, then join me for that right after this. So thank you guys, and we'll hopefully see most of you in either the IELTS or the conversation class in a few minutes.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.